Greetings, Clausewitz here. So this is the first part of my video series about hoplites, and I will start with the definition of this term. So basically with the question, what is a hoplite, or what was a hoplite? So hoplites, or the word hoplite, derives from Old Greek and referred to the word hoplon or hoplo. I'm not sure about this, I'm not an expert in the language itself. We have in today Greek the word hoplon as well, which means weapon. And in the old language, on this different dialects, it could be a name for this type of shield they used, but therefore we have another word, aspis, which basically means shield too, so not 100% sure about this. And hoplon can also refer to weapons itself. So you could translate the term hoplite with either weapon holder or like armed man, or with shield bearer or armed with this shield or with the hoplon itself. So both meanings would make sense in this context, I have to say. This is like we see in other languages in other times, or in same times actually, like the Romans called their own soldiers armed men as well, and we see it in English, in the English language later in the medieval times, when the typical heavy infantrymen were called men at arms. So which basically means the same thing as armed men. So it makes sense. It would also make sense if it would refer only to the shield, because the shield was very distinctive and they didn't use it before, like it seems. And the shield is what kind of connected all hoplites together, because this is basically the most important part about the equipment, which when there is a word, the old Greek word for coward means something like, or you could translate it with, it's actually translated with somebody who drops his shield. Because somebody who ran away from a battle or retreated and really with the purpose not to fight again would drop his shield, because it's a very heavy equipment and it would have slowed him down when he ran away or when he retreated into safety. So basically this is what later becomes the word for coward, somebody who drops his shield, because without the shield he couldn't fight again. So therefore this is for the term hoplite itself. What is a hoplite, or what was a hoplite? So you can basically say it was a soldier of the ancient Greek city-states. So around the 7th century BC they emerged, when you want to call it like that. They're not it's not like that they appeared spontaneously, it was a development obviously, but this is a point we can like say in this time around they come up and they were a thing, and the development kinda was as it was concluded, but was solved. So this is the point where you could call the soldiers hoplites. And what is a hoplite in this context? I said soldier of the Greek city. But important is, this is actually important, isn't a conscript in a way like you had your peasantry, I want to say, or you had the population in your land or in cities or stuff, and they were conscript into war when you needed them. It's more like were citizens in the cities itself, in the cities where the main powers, the main states in this area. There wasn't any kingdoms or stuff like that, even if Sparta had 2 kings, when I remember correctly, but it's more about you had the city-states where democracy run, so in a matter of democracy, and this could differ from state to state. Like I mentioned Sparta before, they didn't have the democracy in this way like Athens did. But this is not important now. The point is, there were citizens, and the amount of citizens who had which had the duty to fight as hoplites in a war when it's wartime, or maybe to protect the areas as well. And the city-states had different systems to manage this. Sparta has a very famous system where they kinda trained the soldiers from childhood on, and they were more warlike, and they had their main power come from their strong ground forces. And so this is Sparta, but other cities manage this differently. Like Athens gave the citizens actually a choice I think, but limited. Would they serve if they want to serve as hoplite, so in the army when you want to say, or on a trireme, so in the navy, because Athens had ships or has fleets as well. This was a major political power about Athens, that they had a strong fleet. But there are only examples, so, and we can't actually say in detail how they really managed it. So like if they would, so some different, so definitely some should, some citizens were ordered to buy their equipment themselves. So basically you can say only rich people or more wealthy people would be part of hoplites, and the wealthiest would be kind of the officers, similar like in the starting of the Roman Republic after the first reforms. And but later on you could get equipment by yourself, so it wasn't necessary therefore. But what means later on, some of the systems existed parallelly and some developed it, but this is like how you could, or how they could run it basically, and some of them did definitely. And yeah, so a hoplite was a citizen who was then trained and maybe equipped from the state or from the strategos, which is actually something somebody. This is like a general. Athens, for example, this was a guy. I think there were men. There were numerous strategos. I'm not sure about this actually, but this is not the subject here. So. Yeah, they were trained definitely, and some were equipped from the state, some not. But this is not important here. So yeah, this is actually all what you can say about a hoplite. They didn't get paid, I think so. Would be strange actually if they get paid, because it was only for war times, or they weren't so long in the army all the time. It doesn't make any sense if they would get paid, and this was their duty, and city-states actually didn't fight over long terms. They didn't have this big war campaigns, and so it would be strange if they get paid. Because you can say hoplites or hoplite forces were more like a very good or a professional militia, because the citizens themselves has to fight, has to defend the city-state or the interests of the city-state, and some of them get the duty for this. And it's not like a profession itself, it's more like, yeah, like I said, your duty when it's necessary. And we see this system in other states as well. And pay the troops, even, and especially when you equip them, it's very costly for the state itself. And money wasn't such a big economic thing, especially because there were different city-states and different leagues, different alliances, and so money wasn't the main currency. So when you trade, so it wasn't even good for you if you had so much money. So possessions were the main wealth factor. But yeah, so much therefore. So this is basically all you can say. They were soldiers, they were citizens, they were kind of professional militia, and they were this were the duty. So this was part 1. Part 2 will be about the equipment, and yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.